Hi, I wonder, how do you go about editing your photos? I use Lightroom, and what I'm going to share with you today is based on Lightroom. I wonder though, do you tend, and I think it happens to all of us from time to time, do you tend to get a little bit lazy in your photo editing? Easy fallback to presets, maybe you have your own set of presets that you like to use. I think there's a way that we can liberate ourselves, and that's just to take each photo on its own merits, start from scratch, and without having any particular sense of I'm always going to tweak the same things, just actually have a look at it and say, well, what would happen if I did this? What would happen if I did that? Sometimes I think it's a good thing to start with an image and have an idea of where you want to end up with that image and then edit to that result. Sometimes I think it's good to start with a bit of a blank canvas, play around and see where you get to. So with that in mind, we're going to dive into a shot that I took this afternoon at Burntisland, and we'll have a look at the editing process, just taking it completely from scratch. So let's go have a look at that. So here we are in Lightroom, and this is just on the library module. So we're going to press for develop. This is actually not the one I want to look at, but it's this one. So this is a photo of the island of Inchkieth, which sits just off the coast at Burntisland, and which I photographed this afternoon. Now, first impressions, as you look at this, you can see that it's been a cloudy, overcast day. There was some sun just peeking through clouds, picking out little bits of detail there, but with the overcast sky, and this is the raw image, it's very flat. So this isn't a situation where we're looking at trying to tone things down. We're trying to beef this up a little bit perhaps. And if you look at the histogram here, we're all kind of bunched into the middle. Most of the data's in the mid-tones. There's not very much at either end. Again, just casting my eye around, up here I can see a little spot, so that looks to me like it's a little spot on the sensor. But I think what we'll do first, I usually start this way, is go to lens corrections. We'll remove chromatic aberration and enable the lens corrections, and there it's popped in the lens that I was using today, the Sigma Macro 105mm. So that's done. The first thing I want to do really is come and get rid of this annoying little spot. So we'll come up here to the remove tool. We'll be on heal, which is highlighted. Just get the cursor over that. Now if we actually come back here and to click on visualize spots, that's really quite helpful. And here we can see that. So I'm just going to hover over there, click, and that'll be done. Take off visualize spots. That's much better. We'll close that. So that's looking fine. So what do I want to do with this? I think I want to get a wee bit more contrast in. Looking at the water here, it would have been nice maybe to have done a long exposure. I didn't have the time this afternoon to be doing that, but that would have been something I would certainly have had a go at. But I would just wonder if maybe it would be interesting to introduce a little bit of haze here. I'm starting to think a little bit ahead, but let's come back to looking at the sky and considering the histogram. I think what we'll do here, we'll open the basic, and what I'm tempted to do is try and spread this histogram out a little bit. So I'm going to take the whites and start to raise them until it either starts to look too bright or it starts to clip. If you look at the histogram, it's just starting to clip there. That's, I think, gone too far. I'd rather kind of eyeball this. I think that's maybe far enough there. And we'll take the blacks back straight. That's just starting to clip in on the left hand of the histogram. Now you can see the little arrow at the top just going in there. So we'll pull that back just to there. So that makes a little bit of a difference already. Now if we just do a before and after quick comparison, that's immediately brightened things up. So I think I'd like to see a little bit more dark there. These highlights are okay. I wonder if we just maybe pop in a mask here. Let's do a linear gradient, and I'll press and hold the shift key as I do this, and that keeps it nice and straight. Let's just bring that down so that we're mostly covering the sky. Click that off and let's have a look at the highlights. If I take the highlights up just a little bit, take the blacks back down a little bit, just darken the top of it a little bit, and maybe just take the whites up slightly. Yeah, that looks okay. Reasonably happy with that. So we will close that. And I think now what I'll maybe do is just jump towards putting a little bit of haze in over the water this time. So again, back to the masking, click for a new one. We'll again do a linear gradient. This time we're going to come up from the bottom. So if I click and hold shift, bring that up to about there, take that off, and now we'll want to find dehaze. Here we are. And instead of dehazing it, let's just take that mask off. Instead of doing dehaze, we're going to introduce haze. So let's just do that. That begins to make it look a little bit more kind of milky on the water. Certainly softened it down. It's maybe a bit too much just at the bottom. So I think I'll take it to there. And we'll do another mask. Let's do a radial gradient just across the middle here, just into there. Stretch that out a little bit. Bring that down. Widen that out. And we'll again come back to dehaze, and we'll add a bit more haze in there. There we go. It's just beginning to affect Inchkieth a little bit. That gives it a little bit of a dreamy type quality. Fairly happy with that. So let's close that. Let's again have a look at before and after, just see how we're going. So that's beginning to look a little bit more interesting. I just wonder if I've gone a bit too far with the sky. Maybe not. Maybe we'll put a bit more colour into there. So let's come back to the masks, and we'll take this one, and here let's increase the saturation just a little bit there. And we'll do a curve on the colours. Let's take the blue up just a wee bit there and a wee bit there. There we go. Try and be subtle about this. Don't want to overcook it. And again, quick look at before and after. See how we're looking. That's starting to look quite pleasing, actually. So I think we can close off the filters again. the masks rather. Yeah. Now this island here is looking a little bit less hazy than perhaps it should. So I think maybe back to the mask again. Let's click for a new one. Let's use the brush this time. Make it quite big. Just do that. And back to dehaze. Add a wee bit more haze back in. Again, try to be fairly subtle here. It is nearer, so it would be less affected. I think that looks alright. Close that. Again, a wee before and after look just to check. Yeah, quite happy with that. It actually looks like it's catching a little bit of sunlight, that little small island there, which at low tide you can easily walk out to. So nice. I'm fairly happy with that actually, as that stands. So I think that's pretty much all I'd want to do with that. I don't want to do any more global edits. I think that is probably enough. So what we've done, we've dealt with lens corrections, we've made a couple of basic changes just to the whites and the blacks, really to affect the overall look, and then after that it's been just working with the masks and doing local changes. So I think overall I'm fairly happy with that. So there we are, that was the editing process in real time. From start to finish, beginning with, in this instance, a fairly blank canvas and me not having a very defined idea of where I wanted to end up. I maybe should have said that the location there was Burntisland. I mentioned Burntisland and the island of Inchkieth, which sits just off the coast. This is on the coast of Fife, just across the Firth of Forth from Edinburgh. So I hope you've enjoyed that little insight into editing. Please don't get lazy in your editing. It's great fun just to start afresh each time. Each image is worth its own approach, I think, and it helps us. I think it helps us to stay creative and to stay imaginative in what we're doing, rather than getting stuck on real tracks of, well, I always use this preset for that look or this preset for that look. I think there's a liberation in just taking each photograph on its own merits, particularly if you're trying to be creative, and that's where I'm trying to be these days. So thank you once again for watching. Please do give this video a thumbs up if you've liked it. Do consider subscribing if you haven't already. It just helps me get the channel out to a wider audience. So thanks again. See you in the next one.